So for today, we will be using a TheraBand. If you don't have one, can you just let me know now? And if you're comfortable doing so, if you can turn on your camera, that will let me know how you're going with the movements. But it's okay if you want to keep it off. There we go, a few people logging in now. So we need a chair, a TheraBand, have a drink bottle kind of close by if you need one. And we're going to be going through some of the movements of the spine and ways we can sort of loosen up and engage our spine. And then on top of that, go through some general strength and conditioning movements that we've been working on over the last couple of sessions. All right. So to begin with, we'll need your band if you want to have a bit more resistance for these movements. And if you don't have a band, you can do all of them without. And some of these movements are typically done with a kettlebell in a gym setting, but I'll show you variations you can use just with the TheraBand. And they're a really nice one, particularly if you're a little bit stiff for your back or you've been in the same posture for a while. It's a great way to start mobilizing through the spine. And if your spine can move a bit more freedom and articulation, generally the rest of your body is going to have a bit more of that freedom and efficiency. Okay. So the first one, I'll show you a repetition of each without the band and then with the band. I'm going to go for about 4 reps, 5 reps for each one, just to loosen up, and then we'll get stuck into a bit more of strength work. So our spine can essentially do, I guess, 3 or 4 main movements. One being flexion and extension, so bending forwards and extending up. Now, when I demonstrate this, I'll go a bit slower. The other is the same, lateral flexion and extension. We have rotation as well. And then kind of a combination of all. We can sort of do a bit of circumduction or circling of the spine. So different regions of your spine will have more or less ranges in each of those movements. But for the most part, we're trying to engage the whole spine here and take it through some of those positions and movements. The first one we're going to start with is going through flexion and extension. Today I've got my shoes off as well because I want to demonstrate a little bit of footing, setting of our feet, so that if we have a strong base, that's also going to help a lot with stability up the chain through our hips into the core muscles. So for the flexion one, we can all try this at home. Maybe just watch me do a repetition and you can try it, and I'll show you how to do it with the band after. You're going to think about making your body or your spine nice and tall and extended. So our hips are roughly over our knees and ankles, shoulders over hips. And a lot of the time, if we extend our body, we can often occasionally overarch a little bit here. So I like to think about get extension, but then just draw that tummy in the tummy. From there, you're going to think about each section of your spine stacked on top of itself. And we're going to slowly start to tilt and drop through one part of our spine at a time. So to begin with, I'm going to tuck my chin in and start to let my head roll down. So I'm still lifting, I'm not just collapsing down. I'm lifting my spine up as I curve down. And then my mid-back starts to come into play. And the lower section of my mid-back. Now my lower back. All in the meantime, I'm drawing my belly button up. I'm rolling down within comfort, so within pain-free range. Might be getting a bit of a stretch earlier on in this. We come to the bottom. Now, once we're at the bottom, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to try to start stacking from the lower back, the pelvis. So I'm going to tuck my tailbone under a little bit, start to stack one bit of my spine on top of itself at a time, rolling back up to straight. Okay, so it's called a roll down, and we're extending back up. I want everyone to try that for a couple of reps. And if you want to add in, if you're comfortable with these movements, if you've seen them before, you can add in using a band. You can basically put your feet over the band, and it'll give your spine a little bit of resistance to extending it. Now, if you have a lot of back problems, then I'd suggest probably giving the band a miss for today and doing it under supervision from a health professional or fitness instructor. But from here, the same thing. We're thinking about tucking the chin, arching that body, rolling down. And then tucking under, drawing in our belly, and extending back up. Alrighty, so let's all go for another 2 reps or so, where you're slowly curving that body, lifting as you curve down. Find that bottom point. You might go a bit slack on the band at the bottom, that's completely fine. And then start to stack on top of yourself. Roll back up. All the way up tall. And we'll go for 1 more repetition. Lengthen out the back of your neck. Tuck your chin in. Start to roll down. Keep some of that lower tummy drawn in towards the back of your spine. Find some length. And then again, tuck under, stack your spine on top of itself. And come back up. Nice job. Now we're going to work through lateral flexion. So without the band, it's a very easy one. You're going to stack your feet underneath your hips. Try to splay your toes a little bit and grip the ground. And from here, we essentially can just think about you're sliding one hand down your leg, lifting slightly through the opposite shoulder, and just creating a bit of length here. And then to come back up, we're pulling the ribs back towards the hips and coming back to straight. So a little bit of a side crunch. Now, often you might find if you stay completely square with your shoulders and bend to the side, you might get a little bit more discomfort or tightness in the back. So to help with a bit more of an efficient articulation of your spine, occasionally rolling your shoulder forwards slightly can aid with just lengthening out a little bit more through the side here, getting a bit more engagement through those obliques as you come back up. Now, if you want to do that with the band, all we're doing is getting a bit of resistance on the band. It's going to help to pull us down. And we're going to think about lifting this side away from the band. And then tummy on, little crunch, back up. Okay, so let's go for about 2 more repetitions if you've been going with me along the way. If you want to try up the band, you can. Otherwise, just going body weight. Trying to find a bit of length. Crunching back to center. And we'll go for 1 more. Back to center. Work. Let's do the other side. Getting yourself set. Finding a bit of tension, lifting your spine as you curve it. Crunching through the side as you come back to center. Keeping a little bit of that tummy on. And remember, if you're getting any discomfort throughout the back or the spine, just drop the band. If the movements continue to feel a bit uncomfortable, then just have a little bit of a rest for now. So these can be great movements, provided they're done correctly and safely. For the most part, I think everyone should be okay at home doing these. Just getting everything warming up. Good. All right, taking that off. The final one we're going to do is just a little bit of rotation now. So you can do that without the band. And we're just going to swing side to side. When you are moving in a rotational exercise, provided you don't get any vertigo, you feel okay through keeping your balance, you can track your movement with your eyes. So ideally, whatever way your sternum's pointing, you want your eyes to follow. That's going to help you get a bit better articulation and rotation through the spine. Good. We'll come back to center. All right, the next bit we're going to loosen up is a bit through the shoulder blades. And this will come into play when we're doing some of the rowing actions in today's session. Have your band handy as well, have it on to the side. I'll show you how to do this movement without it, and then we will use it if you're feeling comfortable with it. So we're doing what's called a bow and arrow. So with our feet, we're just going to set our feet, little bend, gripping the ground. Going to think about reaching, in this circumstance, my left hand away from me, pulling my right arm back and just looking over my right shoulder. I'm getting a little bit of a squeeze behind my right shoulder blade, and then coming back to that starting position and changing. Reach and pull back with opposing shoulder blades. So if I show you a little bit closer there, shoulder blades like so, I'm reaching with my left, drawing my right back, looking over my shoulder, and on the other side, reaching with my right, pulling my left back. Good. Now the way we can do that with a band, to add in a bit more resistance, a bit more activation. Hold your band out in front. Going to set our left arm, going to pull back. So you have to find the right resistance for you, but you're pulling back, opening out, looking over. Stay connected through your feet. Come back to the starting position and then switch your arms. So you will have to have a little bit of a gap between your hands this time. They won't probably start touching unless you've got a really light band. So one more each side. And center. And the last one. And center. Cool. Let the arms just shake off a little bit. Nice job, everyone. The final thing we need to do is just loosen up a bit through our legs. Wake up some of those muscles, and then we'll get stuck into our strength work. So we've gone through these over the last 2 weeks. The first one we're going to work on is the hip flexors, the front. A lot of the time, because of chairs, these can get quite stiff or lose a bit of function. So restoring some extension through the body is quite important. And as we extend, we want to make sure that we're keeping some engagement through our tummy and not letting the pelvis just dip forwards too much. So the way we're going to do this is you can take one big step. With this back leg now, we're thinking about tucking our tailbone under, squeezing our glute. And if you are a bit stiff, you might start to feel a bit of a stretch here. If you have a chair, just use your chair for support if needed. If you're feeling okay with that, you can just bend that front leg forwards a bit more and open up a bit more through that hip. All right, and then we're just going to ease back off. So keeping some engagement through the glute and lower tummy is very important here. If your hips are just dipping forwards and your back's arching, you're not going to get much benefit, and it's likely you probably won't feel as much stretch. Keep in mind, when you are doing mobility exercises, we aren't always searching for a stretch. So it can be sometimes you're not actually stiff on one side. So I don't want you forcing your body into hypermobility and really trying to push into stretches that aren't necessary. So we're just getting a feel for our hips today. And each day it can vary. If you've done a lot of sitting one day, you might find you can't go very far. Whereas if you've done more movement, a bit more walking, this might be quite comfortable and quite easy to achieve. Let's switch sides. Big step. Using your chair for support if needed. Squeeze that glute on, tuck under. And then if you're not feeling enough, you can then sink into it a little bit and just get some lengthening happening through the hips. So I like to do at least 3 repetitions holding for around that 5-second mark. And if one side's a bit stiffer than the other, I'll spend a bit more time on that side. Go for one more rep. If you're not using, as you just saw there, if you're not using a chair, this does double up as a bit of balance and stability work as well. Good. Back to center. Next, inner thighs and the groins. We're going to open up and engage some of those muscles a bit too now. If you find your balance is a bit challenged, standing wide, have your chair in front, use it for a bit of support. Otherwise, if you're going without, you're going feet as wide as you feel comfortable. You can turn your feet out a little bit. And then we're going to think about bending your knee and sinking out to the side. Okay? So I'm just going to check a little message here first. And as you're doing that, think sink side to side. So if you have some questions, so someone's asked about lower back, we'll talk about that. I'll save a bit of time at the end. For the most part, I'll give you some suggestions at the end of today's session, okay? Overall though, if we are loosening up through the front of the hips, those muscle groups do connect to the lower back, and often you might find by getting a bit more mobility through the hips and starting to build a bit more strength around the hips and core area, lower back pain can often start to reduce. The biggest stuff with lower back pain, particularly if it's non-specific, meaning you haven't had an acute injury on the back, is to keep moving. So movement is key. If you're someone who gets very poor or feels that the back gets quite compressed a lot of the time, you can try other modalities like hydrotherapy, where you're in a pool and you don't have gravity pushing down on the body, you actually have buoyancy lifting you up, and that allows you to get more movement through our joints, restore a bit of freedom, and often that can help relieve pain or reduce pain. Awesome. So I think that's pretty good for warming up every part of our body for now, or some sections of our body. We're going to get stuck into a bit of the strength work. So our first exercises are going to be a squatting motion and a rowing motion. Okay, so with this, what we'll be aiming to do is either a double arm row or a single. So if you're doing doubles, you're just going to be doing a few more reps of double. But for single, we're going to aim for about 2 lots of 10 each side. So what I'll have you do is bring out your left foot. We're going to hook the band around our foot and hold it in our right hand. From here, that bow and arrow sort of mobility exercise we practiced before is going to come in handy. So we're going to think about starting with our left arm back, like we're drawing our shoulder back, and our right arm out in front. And then we're going to pull through our right shoulder, reach away with our left. Control out, get a little bit of rotation through the spine. Pull back with that shoulder, reach away with the opposite arm. So keep that going for about 10 repetitions. I'll just show you side on. Pull, reach, control back out. So we'll go for about another 4 to 5 repetitions. Think about drawing your right shoulder back and reaching your left shoulder blade away. Let's go for 2 more. And last one. Nice work. We'll switch feet and switch arms. So left hand, right foot. Reach forwards a little bit. Have a tiny bit of rotation through your torso. Draw your left shoulder blade back, pull back, reach away with the right. Down and out, draw shoulder back, reach away. So try to keep it my tempo. Do your best to actually get those muscles behind the shoulder blade doing some of the work, not just using our arm to do all the work. We're really trying to retract that shoulder blade back, squeeze behind the shoulder blade and below it, not so much up near the neck. If this is your first time attending this class, basically I've made the exercises harder over the last couple of weeks. So we were doing double arm rows earlier with our bands. Now we're doubling up our band so that the resistance is more intense. And because of that, you'll get a bit more adaptation in terms of strength and muscle mass. Just go for your last one. Good job. Our second exercise that we're going to pair with the rowing is a bit of a squat or a sit to stand. Now, for some of you, you're going to have to keep with your feet even and just do your standard stand and sit. But if you're feeling okay with that, you can actually pop one foot out in front and one foot back. So in this positioning now, going to be a bit on the ball of our back foot. Going to think about coming up into like a bit of a split squat and controlling back down. So driving up with both legs, controlling down. All right, if that's feeling okay, off we go for 10 reps. We've done about 3 if you've been keeping with me. Do your best to not use momentum too much here. I'm trying to sit down softly. I'm moving forwards, then pushing up, but not rocking into it. So this is a great one to do, especially if you're ever having to get down to grab things. So if you do a bit of gardening and you need to get down to kneeling, if you need to grab something from a lower shelf, you want to be able to move into a bit of a split squat position. If you find it's quite hard from your chair, then adding on some books or some hard cushions that increase the height can help. Good work. Little rest. And we're switching legs. So legs are going to get a bit of a workout today. Take some nice deep breaths in through the nose, breathing out through the nose, pull them out. Try to think about your recovery a little bit between sets. All right, let's get our feet set. And away we go, pushing up, controlling back down. So if you needed to here, you could have a chair in front as well to take a bit of the weight, help a little bit with your balance. Otherwise, if you're finding this is difficult, you're just doing standard sitting and standing. Let's go for 2 more. Last one. Nice job, everyone. All right, grab a quick drink, have a little bit of a rest, and then we're going to do all of that again. With the back pain, just touching back on that. Overall, in my opinion, I think it's worth checking. Obviously, you'll be learning a lot of diet, nutritional advice being part of the BMLT community. So anytime someone's presenting with back pain in the clinic at Healthy Connections, I'll first ask them how they go with their diet. If there's, and I'm not a dietitian myself, so I'm not giving advice out, but just checking in, do you find there's certain foods that irritate your stomach? And if so, try to cut them out so that we have less irritation around here to potentially help with the symptoms around the back. Second is looking at how much time you spend sitting. Often when we're sitting or any prolonged postures, we're generally just going to be holding our spine in the same posture. And a lot of the time when we do sit, we often sit like this. So you can end up putting a bit of compression through the lower back. So trying to break up sitting time. And then walking and aiming to actually do a bit of a bigger stride when you walk, lengthen out some of these muscles, are just 3 simple ways to start helping with back pain. And if it's a bit more mechanical related, meaning you've just got weakness with your muscles, then I'd seek some professional advice to work on building strength around the hips, the tummy, the core in general, and some of your spine. And there are ways you can start building on it. But there's never really a quick fix for anything. You might get immediate relief sometimes. For the most part, it's just staying active, progressively building some strength and capacity. With that note, let's get back into our strength work. We'll grab your TheraBand, we'll hook it around our left foot again. Get as much resistance as you can tolerate. And then we're reaching forwards, pulling back, drawing your shoulder back. We'll go a little bit quicker this time. Shoulder blade back, reach away. Find a bit of that rotation. Get a good squeeze behind the shoulder. With your breathing, you can breathe in as your arm goes away from you, out as you pull. So breathing in, breathe out with the effort. In, out. Let's go one more. Out. Switch your feet over. And away we go. Remember to stay up tall. Be mindful of your shoulder. Is it creeping up near your ear? Can you bring it down a little bit? Keep your shoulders nice and level. Keep that spine nice and active. Let's go for our last one. Nice job, everyone. Drop that band back down. Come into that split stance again. So ball on the back foot. And we're coming forwards, pushing up. Controlling back down. Up and down. Now, of course, this exercise can be done without a chair as well. So you can just go up and down and not have to sit each time. Try your best not to be rocking forwards and backwards too quickly. So take that slow. Moving forwards is definitely a good movement pattern there, where you're shifting most of your center of weight over your base of support, so between the 2 feet. We don't want to use momentum. We're trying to build more strength through the legs. So have 2 more. Last one. Nice job. Have a breather. Just switch it out. With your foot, especially the front one, I'd like you to try to get the outside of your foot down. Then the pad underneath the big toe, the fat pad. So the knuckle of your big toe, what do you think about? You're trying to get that in contact with the ground, your heel. And then if you can, do a little bit of like a Mexican wave, splay your toes down and grab the ground. Gripping the floor there now. We keep that connection with our foot. Push up, control back down. Let's keep that going, everyone. Now 4 more reps. And here we go for our last one. And down. Good work. All right. Have a little 30-second, roughly a minute breather. Grab a drink. Take some nice breaths through your nose. And we will be moving into our second pair of exercises shortly. Just have a think. If you've got any questions for me at the end, I'll save about 2 to 3 minutes. Right at the end, we can just have a bit of an open discussion about any topics that might be on your mind or you're wanting a bit of clarity. So, for our next two, one's going to be the deadlift again, or the hinging motion. So with a deadlift or with a hinge, we're thinking about really getting our bottom back a bit more horizontal with our trunk before driving back up, trying to really drive through the hips, as opposed to the squatting where we're driving a bit more through the knee. So driving through the knee is going to target the quads a little bit more, whereas if we're going through the hips, we're going to get a bit more of the bum, the hamstrings, and some of the lower back in a good way. So the deadlift is a good one to help improve some strength with our back, with the whole what's called posterior chain, so the back side of our body. What we're going to do is use our band and aim to do about 3 sets for these ones. So I'll take you through the first exercise with the hinge, and then I'll take you through our second one, which will be a pressing action. So with your band, just spread your feet so that they're hip width apart. And stand over the band. Splay your feet out a little bit and try to spread the toes and grip the ground. From here, we're going to sit our bum back, flatten out our back, draw our shoulder blades down and slightly together, and then keeping our spine nice and taut like that, and drive up. Control back down. Drive up. Now with your knees, don't change your feet if they're parallel and hip width apart, but think about slightly driving your knees out so that they're lining up with roughly your second toe from your big toe. So when our knees are tracking over our second toe, generally going to have more stability around our ankle, knee, and hip. And when we have more stability, we can produce more force. So you're going to be stronger, and you're then training your body to move in a stronger alignment, more efficient alignment. Down, drive up, go for 2 more. And last one. Nice work. Now, if your band, you're going to take it so that it's shoulder height. The height of your shoulder blades. And we're going to have a look at doing a chest press movement. So with the chest press, shoulders are nice and level, tummy slightly drawn in, and we push out and together. Out and together. Now, if you're feeling comfortable with that, today we can add in a bit of a step, so a bit more leg work. So you're going to aim to take a step forwards, keep your balance, and then push. Then step back. Other side, step, balance, press, and back. All right, so keep that going with me. We're going to go for another 30 seconds. Step, control, press, and back. You step as far as you feel comfortable. So you might be doing just a very small step or no step at all, but keep working on the press. Try to keep that control. When we are stepping, we're aiming to step heel first. So heel, then toes. Let's go for 1 more. And coming back. Nice job. Good work, everyone. So have a little breather for that one. We're going to work through that another 2 times. See how we're going at the end. We might finish up with a little bit of stretching, but save some time for some questions as well. When I am resting, I like to Aim to do about 4 to 5 decent breaths. So in through the nose, hold it for a little bit. Nice big exhale. If you're following with me at home, I can do the same. Nice breath in through the nose. Hold for a little bit. Nice long exhale. Just letting your body relax in between sets. Go for one more. Work everyone. Get our band ready. Go again. Standing on your band, getting your feet hip width apart, splaying the toes. Can't show your side on this time. When I'm getting set up, I come down, keep those knees out, flatten out that lower back, mid back, draw the tummy in a bit, and I'm driving up. Controlling down, drive up. Stay connected with your feet and all your toes. Grip the ground. Squeeze your bum at the top. Draw those shoulders back a little bit. Keep that going, everyone. Got about 4 more. Let's go. Last one coming up now. Good job. Band coming behind our back. Setting those shoulders. And off we go. So you're stepping as far as you feel comfortable. Controlling it and pushing out into down. Step and control. Press out and together. Try to breathe out as you press. Feel your lungs when you're back in the standing position. Keep it going, everyone. Almost done. We'll do 3 more. Last 2. Nice job. Have another breather, little break. Working our breathing in between again. Then we'll do 1 more round. That'll take us to about the end of today's session. So while we're resting, breathing in through the nose. Do our tummy. Hold for a little bit. Breathe all the way out. Two more. Last one. Alrighty, last round. Let's get that band set around your feet. Sit your bottom back. And off we go, driving up. 2, 3, before. We're going to 10 here. Make sure you're keeping those shoulder blades back slightly, sitting your bottom back. Driving up. Nice level knees. Last one. Nice work. And then bringing it behind our shoulders, tummy on, and stepping, pressing out, coming back. Step, press, come back. Halfway. 4 to go. And last 2. Last one. Nice job, everyone. You can drop your band down. Grab a little drink. Well done, if you made it through that. So if you have any other questions or you want to type them in, please do so now. If you're wanting to unmute your camera and fire away, but otherwise, hopefully you enjoyed that. Next Thursday, I'll be away, so we'll have Savannah covering this session, so you won't be seeing me again. So thank you everyone who's been attending, but I will be doing the Tuesday session next week. So if you wanted to join in on that one, that would be great. It'd be good to see all of you. Other than that, if there's no more questions, thank you very much for today and have a lovely weekend. Thanks, Josephine.